So we're on page 51. I want us to note, okay, my horizontal asymptote is 3, but how did she get that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we get those horizontal asymptotes? Anyone have any idea where that 3 might have come from? You're like, I see a 3 up there. If I distributed that, you guys, what would that function be? 3x minus 3 over x plus 2. And here's the deal. Here's what tells us about asymptotes, horizontal asymptotes. The variables with the biggest exponents on the top and the bottom dictate the asymptotes. So you guys, do you guys agree that this is really a 3x over x are the variables with the biggest exponents? They're actually the only variables in this case. Well, you guys, what happens when I say 3x over x? What's left? Just a 3. That's why my horizontal asymptote was 3. But what if we go to that next page and I look at this one? What's the biggest exponent in the top? Squared. What about the biggest exponent in the bottom? Squared. What are their coefficients? 6 and 2. So you guys, my horizontal asymptote is going to be at 6 over 2, which is 3. And how did I get that one more time? It would have just, I'm actually going to write it out a couple of steps so that might help some people. I would have said my horizontal asymptote, I got it from saying 6x squared over 2x squared. Gabe, you listening? My x squareds cancel, and a 6 over 2 would get me a 3. That's where that horizontal asymptote came from. I would go and put a horizontal asymptote then at 3 on my picture. This next one. Don't you agree we have an x over an x to the second? They don't match and cancel out this time, right? The degree in the bottom is bigger. So anytime the bottom exponent is bigger, every single time the horizontal asymptote is going to be 0. Every single time. Let's go draw that in as well. If y, because it was 0, I'm going to go to my graph and I'm going to go, oh, horizontal asymptote at y is 0. Whoosh. Now, let's make some rules now. Let's make some rules using this chart. Anytime the degrees are the same, and I made this crazy little example involving variables, which sometimes complicates things for people. So I don't mean to do that. Let's write our own example beneath it, and then we'll apply to this function. So let's go and say, what do we want our function to be? 5x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x minus 1. I just made that up, okay, guys? And what if I say that's over 10x cubed plus 8x? I'm just going to end it right there. Because my degrees are the same, if the degrees are the same, I'm not going to fill in those blanks yet. Then you guys, so maybe off to the side, we're going to just say, oh, 5x cubed over 10x cubed, those degrees are the same, so I would go like this. I would just get rid of them. X cubed over x cubed is gone. What are we left with? 1/2. Thanks for writing it that way. I mean, saying it that way. 5/10 is the same as 1/2. That would be my horizontal asymptote. So those are my fave when the exponents match. Okay, those are my fave because they just cancel out and I just get to say, oh, 5/10 is a half. How could we apply that to this? If my degrees are the same, what they're expecting here, this is very textbooky. This did not help me as a kid. This helped me as a kid. But I think it's important. I think some textbook does help some students, so I'm going to put it. If my degrees are the same, in this case, that'd be saying if n is m, these degrees are the same, then where would the horizontal asymptote be at? A over b. Nice, you guys. Y would equal a over b. Yes, some of y'all are textbook people, and that was impressive. Me as a student, I just needed it written in numbers. Okay, just like this one. Which degree was bigger? In the denominator, it was bigger, and then it gave us a horizontal asymptote at 0. So I'm saying here, if the denominator's degree is bigger by any amount, then we have a horizontal asymptote every time at y equals 0. Y equals 0, which axis is that? The x-axis. Whoops, the x-axis. Okay, let's write ourselves an example because my textbook people, they got it from that. If my m is bigger than my n, if you will. But let's write ourselves an example. Let's kind of go similar to this guy. If I had 5x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x minus 1, I kept the same top. But now I need to write something where the degree in the denominator is bigger. what would I make this 10x to the what? Sure, I could make it 10x to the 4th. Could I make it 10x to the 14th? Yeah, anything where that degree in the bottom is going to be bigger, that's what's going to make us have a horizontal asymptote at 0. You're only comparing the biggest exponent in the top and the bottom. Those are the only things that make a difference. If the degree, the numerator's degree is bigger by any amount, then we do not have a horizontal asymptote. And I'm just going to write in what Danny Main just wrote up for us. Danny Main said, okay, what if we just had something like this? If it was x cubed plus, oops, come on, pen, I need you to work. X, okay, Ben. Oop. X cubed plus 4x squared minus 9. And Danny Main said, I'm just going to put that over 5x. Because the exponent on the top was bigger than the exponent on the bottom, we will never have a horizontal asymptote. Okay, because the degree on the top is bigger than the degree on the bottom, we have no horizontal asymptote. Because my exponents match here, we got 1x squared over 1x squared. That just gets me 1. Okay, this next one. Ooh, this one's a tricky. What's my degree on the top? We have x to the first here. What's my degree on the bottom? Be careful. It's actually a squared, isn't it? This is really an x over an x squared. Or what if you thought about it from over here before I canceled them out? Wouldn't the top have been an x squared and the bottom would have been a x cubed? Regardless, where is the exponent bigger? On the bottom. And anytime the degree on the bottom is bigger, every single time, y equals 0. Okay, you guys, on this guy, which exponent is bigger? Oh yeah, they match. What's 2x squared over 1x squared? 2. Boom, we got a horizontal asymptote at 2. I don't know if I've been drawing these in the graph. I should have. Y equals 2, let's go to our graph. Y equals 2, plot it in. We're on 54.
0.
Oh, how'd you get 0? I agree. The denominator exponent's bigger. Yeah, I love it. Denominator bigger. Sorry. Y is 0. That's going to be my horizontal asymptote. Let's go put it. Oh, and you know that why it's y equals. It's HOI. A horizontal line is always y equals. You know what I'm saying? Last one. Wilson, what do you think the vertical, wow. What do you think the horizontal horizontal asymptote is going to be of this one?
I know the exponents are the same.
Yes. So what's left when I cross those out?
1 over 4.
Yes, that's it. My horizontal asymptote here would be 1x to the second over 4x to the second. The x to the seconds cancel out, bud, and you got y equals 1 over 4, which is real annoying to graph. So when I go graph a horizontal asymptote of 1/4, I'm just going to go up a smidgy. Just go up a smidgy. If yours looks more like a half, you guys, it's fine. Okay, so let's go find those x-intercepts. We've not done this yet. The x-intercept, you guys, if I look on a graph, quick thought, you guys, an x-intercept. Let's do the y-intercept first, actually. You guys, to be a y-intercept, this is totally rogue. Ready? What's this point? It has nothing to do with this graph. I'm just curious. What's that point? 0, 5, this one? 0, 4, this one? What are you saying for your x every single time you're on that y-axis? 0. So you guys, in order to find a y-intercept, oops, let's undo this. In order to find a y-intercept, every single time, you just plug in 0 for your x all day, every day. So if I were you, I'd write myself that little note. For a y-intercept, I'm just plugging in 0 for my x. You guys, you could plug it in here or you could plug it in here, whichever you prefer. I personally am going to plug it into my OG because it's going to be easier. If I plug in a 0 in for my x, what would we get? 3 over negative 9, negative 3/9. So what would we simplify that to be? Negative 1/3. So you guys, I'm going to say when my x was 0, I got a negative 1/3. I'm going to go to my graph. And I'm going to say when x was 0, my y is negative 1/3. Again, Danny's better be perfect. Everyone else, negative 1/3-ish. Sound good? X-intercepts are a little bit more annoying. My x-intercepts. For my x-axis, again, this is not applies to this question, but answer me this. For my x-axis, what's this point? I'm going to put it in green, actually. That point is 1, 0. This point, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0. What are you saying for your y every single time? Yeah, so for my x-intercept, you guys, that just means my y's are 0, and I would write myself that little note. My y is 0. You guys, you could put a 0 here, or you could put a 0 here. I personally would do it here because we've already done some work. So my y has to be 0. So I'm going to say 0 equals x plus 3 times x plus 1 over 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. Okay, you guys, how would we solve something like that?
Multiply by the bottom.
Perfect. Multiply by the denominator. Here's what I want you guys to notice. Do you agree multiplying by this denominator is going to be annoying to write?
And then just be like 0.
Yeah, 0 times anything. 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. 0 times anything gets me what? 0. Do I really got to write 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3 over here? Ugh. Here's what we got. Do you agree we're at 0 equals x plus 3 times x plus 1? Do you feel comfortable saying anytime I'm finding the x-intercept, it's always just going to be 0 equals the top? You could just jump there if you want, because this is a lot to write. Me as a student, I probably would have had to write this though, or else I wouldn't have remembered. You know what I'm saying? So writing it's fine. It just takes some steps. But that x-intercept is always just going to be 0 equals the top, because once we multiply by the denominators, we're there. When does this equal 0? When does x plus 3 equal 0? And when does x plus 1 equal 0? Hey, what? So we're going to have two x-intercepts, and here's how we're going to write them. -3, 0, and -1, 0, because they're points. My y's were 0. I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to plot -3, 0, and -1, 0. So we're going to go graph this with our calculator to now see what we got. I'm going to go graph my original, which was x squared plus 4x plus 3 over 4x squared minus 9. And when I graph that, so your graphing calculator now shows you what it looks like. What we've got here is like the blueprint we need to follow when we put that graph on here. So do you agree? We're hugging this 1/4, we're hugging this 1/4. We've got to cross through that x-intercept, right? Oh, twice? Hold up. Oh yeah, no, sorry. Here, we got this vertical asymptote. So we're going to cross through that x-axis, and we're going to hug this vertical asymptote. Then I'm going to hug this vertical asymptote, and then I'm going to go cross through, and then I'm going to hug this. And then this guy's going to be pretty willy-nilly. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you. I'm going to do mine in green, and I'm going to make it a little fat just so you guys can follow. Here we go. I'm going to say, all right, I need to hug this horizontal asymptote of 1/4. I must go through that x-intercept, and then I'm going to hug my vertical asymptote. Asymptotes there are to get close to them. Sound good? You can never cross through a vertical asymptote, so just get close to it. Then I see, all right, I need to hug this vertical asymptote, go through x-intercept, y-intercept. So I'm going to hug this vertical one. I'm going to go through my x-intercept and my y-intercept, and then hug the other one. Exactly. You can cross through a horizontal asymptote. As in no problemo. You will never cross through a vertical asymptote.
What's the point of us writing down the horizontal?
Yeah, good call, because check it out. Over here, horizontal asymptotes are for the end behavior. It doesn't matter what's going on in the middle. So to your point, now I see, oh, my graph does hug this vertical one, and then I have to hug this 1/4 one. But sometimes, Danny Main, to your point, it might have an x-intercept down here, so it might cross through and then another x-intercept and come back and hug it from the other side. But it will hug on those ends. Sound good? Here we go. Let's talk x-intercepts and y-intercepts one more time. That y-intercept is, in my opinion, easier. That's when x is 0. If my x is 0, you could plug that in here, or you could plug it in here. I actually think it's easier to plug in the original. What are we going to get when I plug in a 0 for x? -8, because I'd get an 8 over a -1. So when you plugged in a 0 for your x, you got a -8 for your y. I'm going to go plop that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you guys, x-intercept, not quite as easy in my opinion. That's when your y is 0. But Liv is going to take the shortcut because she's going to say, okay, I know that I could set 0 equal to my whole function or 0 equal to the function that I've already factored. You already factored this one. But you guys, what is that first step going to do? I'm going to be multiplied by that denominator. 0 times that denominator is going to get me 0. And I would just be left with that numerator. 4 times x squared plus 2 would equal 0. This is to help us find that x-intercept. Again, you'd set the y equal to 0. I'd multiply by that denominator, and I'd get here. When do each of these equal 0, you guys? Does 4 equal 0? No, so I don't have to worry about that one. Does x squared plus 2 equal 0? What would you do to solve for x on that guy? Close. It would be the square root of what? -2. Yeah, furrowed brows are appropriate here. What's the square root of -2? What kind of number? Imaginary. Guess what we don't have to deal with this year? We don't have to do imaginary numbers. So when you're like, oh, this would be the square root of a negative, we don't have to deal with imaginary numbers. There is none. There is no x-intercept. We don't have to worry about it. Guess what we don't have to worry about in AP Calc? Imaginary numbers. Thing of the past. They are on the ACT, I'm sorry. But we don't have to worry about them in pre-calc or calc. So because this came out like this, 4 doesn't equal 0. That's a false statement, so that we don't have to do anything with that. And this would be imaginary. I just don't have any x-intercept. Daniel Main, let's go graph this guy. I graphed it. Danny Main didn't because he's being a bump on a log. Not graphed it. So here's what we got. Does this follow what we've got? Does this follow a horizontal asymptote? Sure. Then it has a cute little dippity-doo. All right, I'm just going to draw a dippity-doo. Then I'm going to go through my y-intercept of -8, and I'm going to hug this vertical asymptote. So you guys, I'm just going to say, all right, this is looking like I'm hugging. I got a little dippity-doo. Am I going to measure Jeremy and make sure that his is perfect? No. Danny's, yes. But if yours is ish, following it like this, we're good.
Why am I seeing 3 dots?
I don't know. My calculator is weird. Then this. Do I have to make sure that this is crossing through anything? Nope. I'm just going to make sure that it is hugging my vertical asymptote and hugging my horizontal asymptote.